Hello everybody, this is Tip Top Gaming here today with another Magic the Gathering news video. Now today we are again talking about Theros Beyond Death, and today we are talking about the theme boosters. So I believe it was last week I did a video talking about the collector boosters, and within that video they talked about theme booster rares. Now, at the time I just speculated that they were going to be new cards that you can only get in the theme booster, which is exactly what they are. Now, I'm going to talk about what the cards are. I'm going to review all the cards, how you get them, and why I think they were implemented in this video. So why don't we jump right into this? You might have noticed that collector boosters can contain one card from the theme boosters, which is a bit new and different since the theme boosters have in the past been merely a collection of cards from the main set. Moving forward, theme boosters are going to contain unique rares aimed at newer players looking to collect cards in a specific theme. For Theros Beyond Death, we're sticking with theme boosters based on colors, but who knows where the themes could roll in the future. So, theme boosters have been around since, like, Dominaria, actually. Within the guilds of Ravnica, instead of having them be monocolor, there was one for each guild, which I think worked a lot better because monocolor decks are a lot harder to build. However, I think Theros makes sense to have monocolor due to devotion. So I think that makes a lot of sense. However, I think they should have, and you'll see within the cards, leaned into maybe making all of them triple cost, because if someone's buying a theme booster, they're clearly going for one color, and so giving them that extra devotion boost, I think that would make them more usable cards. But we're going to break down those cards here in a second. Each theme booster will come with 35 cards from Theros Beyond Death, all with the same color, including one rare mythic card. Those rare or mythic rares can be a card from the set or one of these unique theme booster rares, which is kind of wrong because I don't believe there's a mythic within this. Nope, they're all rare, so if it's a rare, it could be one of these ones. So, basically, these rares are only going to be accessible through theme boosters. So, why don't we break down how you can get every single type of card? So, if I just wanted to open products from Wizards of the Coast, how do I get every Theros Beyond Death card? Well, you have to buy a bunch of booster packs. You also have to buy a box, which I think the buy box promo is fine, because if you're going to try and collect everything by buying boosters, you're going to be buying booster boxes. Okay, then you need the Planeswalker decks, and now you need to buy a bunch of theme boosters to get a playset of each of these, because guess what? This is just one of the rares. So, you have to open up enough theme boosters to get 4 copies of each of these, and they're equally as likely as any other card. So, if any of these cards find their way into standard decks, they are going to be very expensive, because guess what? There are a couple things about theme boosters that you guys might not know. For instance, when you buy it from your local gaming store, they can only buy them in sets. So if the blue cards are really, really good cards, which blue is generally a very powerful color, and they sell out of blue ones, well, they have to buy all 5 colors in order to buy more blue ones. So that makes it really hard for them to put unique cards in each one, because if one is a lot more popular, then it makes stores have a hard time keeping them in stock. Second, a lot less theme boosters go out compared to regular boosters. As well, I mean, you're paying a lot more money for only one rare, and so it's not even the price, like, okay, if theme boosters were the normal pack price, but were all the same colors, I would be a lot more for them, but they're like double the pack price. Now, the idea here is that you can add lands and you have a deck, right? But I don't think that anyone does that. So I think what they should do is cut it down to 15 cards, limit it to a color, and then make them normal price. And then add these cards. Sure, I'm not a big fan of it because in MTG Arena, if you want any of these cards, you have to use wild cards, and they're all rare, and like, I'd rather have these be mythic, because I have more mythics than rares, so this is kind of ridiculous. I hate when they add cards to MTG Arena that can't be found in booster packs. It's very limiting. As well, they talked about Brawl decks maybe being able to buy the precons in MTG Arena, but that never came into fruition, at least not yet. So I don't expect them to be open up like theme boosters, although that could be something they're doing. Maybe they're going to be like, here are Theros Beyond Death boosters, and for gems, you can buy Theros Beyond Death theme boosters, which feature these unique cards. That's what I would do. Like, if I was MTG Arena, and I'm going to do a video about this soon, I would add a bunch of different types of boosters. But why don't we jump right into these cards, because I've talked for 5 minutes now, pretty much, without going over the cards. Because if all of these cards are garbage, like they are purposely built to be garbage, well then what's the point? And if they aren't built to be garbage, well then we have a big problem. So they have to be a very fine balance. So, Grasping Giant is a 6-cost creature giant, which is important. In Throne of Eldraine, there are some cards that care about giants. It's vigilant, and it says whenever Grasping Giant becomes blocked by a creature, exile that creature until it leaves the battlefield. Okay, so Grasping Giant cannot be killed by being blocked. Because guess what? You attack with it, say they block with 3/1/1s, they are all exiled. Until he leaves the battlefield. So not only does it just not like kill him, but also they are exiled. This is I mean, for 6, it's not going to be played in standard, but these are powerful cards. I mean, that concept is very powerful. I don't think the card is powerful because it costs 7 or 6. It won't see any play in standard. Number 5, sorry. Victoria Envoy is a 5-cost 3/3 creature human cleric, so better have something good. At the beginning of your upkeep, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. Okay, this could end up in standard. Mono white, in terms of lots of creatures, does play up into like the 4 cost, and 5 cost might be a little bit too much for it. However, if a really wide deck gets access to this card, which guess what, Selesnya and Mono White are both, and Boros are all very like go wide decks, I could see this being a 1 or 2 of in those decks, because guess what, at the beginning of your upkeep, you're just putting a counter on each other creature. They get bigger every single turn. So even if your opponent is putting up more and more powerful creatures, your existing creatures are just getting more powerful. This card could definitely see some play in Standard. It will definitely see play in Brawl, which is obnoxious, because that means I'm going to have to spend at least 1 rare wild card on this, so this is really infuriating. Next, Serpent of Yawning Depths. Also, by the way, don't take my word for if these are going to be powerful. They might not find a deck. They might find a deck. And a card can be overpowered and then not find a deck. Or a card cannot be not very powerful, but in the right deck, it's crazy. Serpent of Yawning Depths. It's a 6-cost enchantment creature serpent, 6/6. So it's a 6/6 for 6 in blue. Enchantment, which does give it more weaknesses. Krakens, Leviathans, Octopuses, and Serpents you control can't be blocked, except by other things of those. So, whoa. This is a 6-cost, 6/6. Unblockable. What? Wow, that was a really high voice crack. What? That is crazy. And not only that, but if you happen to run any other Krakens, Leviathans, Octopuses, or Serpents, that's a lot of that. I mean, not a ton, but there are some of that in Standard. Those are also unblockable. This could also be a card seen in Standard. I don't think Standard, but again, Brawl is a... I'm sure this card would happily live in Brawl. Sphinx Mindbreaker, and you'll notice a theme here. 7-cost for 6/6 creature Sphinx with flying. That's pretty good. Blue generally has pretty terrible stats in terms of, in terms of mana to stats, but it normally has good abilities. When it enters the battlefield, each opponent puts the top 10 cards of their library into the graveyard. Okay, this one's pretty junky. You're paying 7 for a 6/6 flyer and milling 10 cards. Make up your mind. Are you killing them with damage or are you milling them? Choose one, not both. You could get a 6/6 with flying for cheaper, or you could get the top 10 cards of their library for cheaper. Look at Ashiok. I mean, that takes a turn or two, but it also exiles their stuff. So I think that it's kind of crazy. I think that one's pretty junky. I think from what from all of the ones I've looked at, there's been one good card and one pretty junky card, or at least a card that has a decent ability but just isn't going to work. Next, we have Demon of Loathing. It's a 7-cost creature demon, flying trample, and when it deals combat damage to a player, that player sacrifices a creature. It's a 7/7. Here's the thing about Black. Black Reanimator, and even Blue at this point, is very popular. So if there's a big creature that's just limited by its mana cost, which seems to be what a lot of these are, they're really powerful effects limited by big mana cost, because guess what? That's what new players want. You want to teach them that the big cards are the good cards, when in Standard that's not really the case. So you have to be very careful of just blocking something based on high mana cost. For instance, this Demon of Loathing, I don't think this will become a prime Reanimator target. I mean, it is a 7/7 flying trampler that makes players sacrifice things. However, it doesn't have that Villain or Agent of Treachery kind of vibe. Like for 7, I would much rather play an Agent of Treachery. Underworld Sentinel is a 5-cost creature skeleton soldier. Whenever Underworld Sentinel attacks, exile target creature from your graveyard. When it dies, put all cards exiled with it on the battlefield. Oh my god, this could totally end up in a Reanimator deck. So imagine a blue-black Reanimator deck, running maybe 1 or 2 of these because they're high cost, but they're kind of a slower deck. You put this out and you attack. Oh, there's Agent of Treachery exiled. Oh, there's Villain. There's this. And then, oh, I'm going to sacrifice Underworld Sentinel. Now, all of those enter the battlefield. They don't go to your hand, they go straight to the battlefield. And for 5, being able to at least bring back 1 creature straight to the battlefield, and you get a 4/5, and you could theoretically put more, I think this card could definitely see some play in some Reanimator decks, and again, would see play in Brawl. Alrighty, Next, red. I think red kind of stinks. We have an 8 cost sorcery. Search your library for up to 4 Minotaur creatures with different names, put them onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. Okay, this one, I did, okay, the first time I read this, I thought it said put it in your hand. Okay, this can be crazy. You pay 8, which is a lot, especially for red. I think this would be much more likely a brawl card, especially since that singleton, getting out those specific Minotaurs are important. However, I think there would have to be 4 good Minotaurs in the game, but theoretically, each one only needs to cost 2 mana for you to get your mana back in terms of them being put on the battlefield. Plus, this is 4 cards of card advantage. What? I mean, this is probably more powerful than the red ones, but you'll see. Terror of Mount Veles is a 7-cost flying double striker that's a 5/5, so drop this in. The next turn you're hitting them for 10, next turn you're hitting them for lethal. When Terror Mount Veles enters the battlefield, creatures you control gain double strike until end of turn, meaning if you can flicker this, or even if you just play this on the right turn, that can lead to very big consequences. However, I think similar to the 7/7 Demon of Loathing, I think this card is not going to see play in anything. Then we have Ironscale Hydra. This is kind of crazy. It's a 5-cost 5/5 creature Hydra, and it says if a creature would deal combat damage to Ironscale Hydra, prevent that damage and put a +1/+1 counter on it. Yes, you heard it. It's not take off a counter like most Hydras that prevent damage. It's just put on a counter. That's fair for 5 as a 5/5. It's an infinite chump blocker. That doesn't seem very fair. Plus, it also prevents lifelink, death touch, anything that's whenever this thing deals combat damage. This card, I think, might see some play, especially if something like Hydroid Krasis gets banned out of Standard. However, I know I'll probably be crafting one of these again, because guess what? I have a Hydra, I'm working on a Hydra Commander, or Brawl deck, and every Hydra is good, especially this one, which is crazy. Okay, next we have Tree Shaker Chimera. It's a 7-cost 8/5 creature Chimera. So there are some very terrifying chimeras in Magic, but it says all creatures able to block Tree Shaker Chimera do so. When it dies, draw 3 cards. So here's the power of this. You pay 7, which is a ton. Then you have to hit it all the way back to your turn. Now, you attack, and it basically means that all your other creatures gain unblockable. If they have 5 power, which they probably do, or at least 5 power of untapped, because they're already tapped, they don't have to block this. They have to block it, which basically means you get to kill one of their creatures. So for 7, you get to draw 3 cards and kill one of their creatures and give all your creatures unblockable. When you look at it like that, it looks really good. However, there's a lot of ways this can be disrupted. For instance, if they have this really valuable creature that can tap itself, but it's it's not a good blocker, they can just tap it so it doesn't have to block. However, I think the fact that this renews itself could lead it to some powerful gameplay. If you can somehow loop this, I'm not sure if there would be a way to do so. But yeah, I think that this one's definitely better. So looking at this, it looked like there's kind of one junky one, which would be Grasping Giant, Sphinx Mindbreaker, Demon of Loathing, Terror of Mount Veles, and Tree Shaker Chimera. And then there was one crazy one, which we'll see at least play in Brawl, if not play in Standard. I think Victory Envoys has the highest chance of appearing in Standard due to its lower mana cost. However, I could see really any of the cards I mentioned showing up in Standard besides maybe this Death Bellow Warcry. I think that this is kind of ridiculous that they're adding these cards to theme boosters, and I think the real reason they're doing it is actually collector boosters. If this was not a thing, here are the cards you could get in their ancillary slot. It would either be a common from the Planeswalker deck, an uncommon from the Planeswalker deck, a rare from the Planeswalker deck, the Planeswalker from the Planeswalker deck, so that's 8 cards because there's 2 Planeswalker decks, or the buy box. So there'd be 1 in 9 chance of getting the card you want. However, by adding this, it now adds 10. So now there's 19 cards you can get. Where Theros Beyond, too many T's. Throne of Eldraine had the Brawl decks to add a bunch of slots and added some junk to the ancillary slot. This one has these, and I think this is how they're going to keep that slot alive. So not only do they think this will boost theme booster sales, but they also think this will boost collector booster sales, or it actually might do the opposite. It keeps the ancillary slot more valuable because there's more cards within it. So I think that this is a bad move. I would have much rather seen one of 2 things. These be part of the normal set. That would have been the best option, I think. Or B, make these something unique. Don't make them open products to get these. If you want to, I think they need to find, if they want to find a way that's not just opening boosters, they need to make it better. Maybe these are ultra rares. that can sometimes appear twice, or these are cards that only appear in foil. So if you get a foil rare, there's a chance it's one of these, but it's never not one of these. I think that if they're trying to come up with something unique, do something like that. Don't say, hey, now you have to buy collector boosters, normal boosters, theme boosters, not to mention you also need to buy the Planeswalker deck, and actually you should probably buy 4 of each Planeswalker deck, and then, oh, you need to buy 4 boxes to get the box topper, because what's going to happen is players are just going to go and buy them from single sellers, and that's going to drive money away from Wizards of the Coast. They'd much rather you buy it from them. So I think that this is kind of ridiculous. Alrighty guys, that's going to do it for this video. I'm sorry it's been kind of a negative one. This is just kind of a bad post. I think that a lot better steps could have been taken. Alrighty guys, that's it. See you guys in the next video. Subscribe, like, see ya. Bye.